To the June Oldham County Board of Adjustments and Appeals. My name is Larry Otterback. It's 9 o'clock and we are now in session. We have 4 cases before us today. The procedures for the cases are going to be the same for all 4. Here in a minute, we're going to swear staff in, and Amy's going to give us the staff report. Mike Riley's going to read it, then Amy's going to give us the staff report. There'll be a round of questioning by board members to staff, and when we're done with that, staff's going to take a seat. I'm going to call you, the applicant, forward. You're going to come to the podium, raise your right hand, be sworn in, state your name and address, and justify your project. There'll be a round of questioning by us, the board members, to the applicant. And when we're done with that, you, the applicant, can take a seat, and I'm going to call forward anybody that wishes to speak in favor of the application, and then those opposed. Same thing, come forward, raise your right hand, state your name and address, be sworn in, tell us why you're in favor, tell us why you're opposed. There might be a round of questioning by board members to you, and when we're done with that, you may take a seat. I'll open it up for questions of the board members to anybody, whether it's you, the audience, or staff. And when we're done with that, I'm going to close the floor for public hearing, open it up for general discussion among the board members, and call for an up and down vote. All right. Cell phones, please make sure they're off or on silent. If you need to use your phone, please excuse yourself from the room. Just make sure it's off when you come back in. Board members, make sure your mics are on. And with that, let's swear staff in.
I'm going to have you swear us in case I've
never done that.
Oh, you're told nothing but the truth.
Okay, there we go. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Easy enough. Recognize that I'm secretary. Jim Urban, serving as secretary. Thank you. And Mike Riley, if you want to read the first one, please.
Thank you. Docket OC 22-021. An application has been filed requesting a location variance for a proposed structure located at 4005 Old Highway 53, LaGrange.
All right, good morning. Amy Alvey, Assistant Planning Director for Oldham County Planning and Development Services. As Mr. Riley stated, this is an application that was filed for requesting a variance for the location of a proposed accessory structure to be located in front of the primary at 4005 Old Highway 53 in LaGrange. The property is zoned R2 residential and is approximately 10.5 acres. This is an aerial view of the property here outlined in red. This is North Highway 53 here, and then you come across Old Highway 53 here in order to access the property. This is a zoomed in version of the property. You'll see the historic home is here, and then there's a fenced in rear yard, and then there's a barn back here in the back. The property is zoned R2 residential, and then this is just the area map again that just shows the existing historical home and then some farm and outbuildings here at the back of the property. There is previous site history regarding this property. Again, the applicant is requesting a location variance to allow the detached garage of 40 by 30 or 1,200 square feet to be placed in front of the primary structure. Section 250.030 accessory uses and structures without dwelling units. Item B, number of accessories, states that 2 accessory structures with no maximum floor area is allowed on 5.01 acres or larger. So you can have 2 non-agricultural structures with no limitations on size. Excuse me, because they are over the 5.01 acres. The proposed accessory structure meets the standards of Section 250.030, accessory uses and structures with and without dwelling units, except for item E, which states that no accessory use or structure shall be located in between the principal building and the front property line. So the applicant is requesting a location variance to allow the accessory structure again to be built in front of the primary. The current historical home located on the property does not have a garage and will be constructed along the existing driveway. This is the site plan that was submitted by the applicant. The setback requirements for accessory structures is 5 feet from property lines, and the plot plan submitted from the application well exceeds those requirements. So you'll see that the front property line, the distance from the front property line to the accessory structure is 140 feet. The right side is 180, and the left is 400. The rear is 650. Per the applicant's justification statement, the only reasonable location for the accessory structure is due to topography. Item 2, if the primary structure was placed behind the home, it would require fence removal, major excavation for a pad, and tree removal, which would all add a substantial cost to the project and degrade the fenced rear yard. The proposed location is far enough to the side of the house to not interfere with the sight line of the house from the road, and with the structure being black, it would not detract from the historic home view. And then finally, structure will look like other farm buildings in the area. This is the contours for the property. So I put a block here, the approximate location of the proposed accessory structure. Again, this is the primary structure here, and then this is the farm buildings and outsheds here. This is the proposed elevation views provided by the applicant of what the building will look like. This is the entrance into the property. The applicant did have stakes in place here. You'll see below the red arrows, that's the location. And this is up the driveway. This is not at the edge of pavement. So I had come up the driveway some to take this picture, to get the poles. This is a north view looking on Old Highway 53. So this is going back out to get to the main road of North Highway 53. This is the west view, which is across the street from the applicant's property. This is the barn that is located across the street. This is the south view, traveling further down Old Highway 53. This is a view from the historical home. So when you come up the driveway, they have a circle driveway here that loops around, and the accessory structure will be on this side. So I'm standing now in part of the circle, looking back towards where the garage, the proposed location will be. Again, you'll see that the applicant does have stakes in place. This is the fenced-in rear yard to give you an idea of what that appears. In summary, the applicant is requesting a location variance to allow a detached garage 30 by 40 or 1,200 square feet to be placed in front of the primary structure. Potential conditions of approval is the variance shall only apply to the application considered at the June 16, 2022 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. And number 2, there shall be no commercial activity conducted from the accessory structure and shall not be used as living space. That is all that I have. Be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Amy. Questions for Amy? All right, Amy, if you can go back to one of the slides, maybe where the, so what I'm trying to figure out, or trying to, all right, maybe right there, hang on right there. I see where the driveway is going to the right. That's part of the circle of the driveway. The house, there's some structure, something that's right where the arrow is, like maybe a little waterfall type thing.
Right here?
No, go to the right. I'm trying to figure out what I want to figure out is if we move the structure back so that it's behind the house. The justification said that the fence needs to come down and there's a lot of work and excavation to make that happen. And I know I'm going to ask the applicant the exact same question, but I want a shot to show me the hardship of moving the structure back behind the house. So this might be it, if you can tell me where the house is.
This is right here. The house is located right here. This is all fenced in and then goes back. This is a gate that goes back. This is a farm road that goes back to the farm building that's in the back. So it can't be placed here because then they'd have to construct a new drive to get back. And I kneeled down to try and get this elevation here. This is a rather, I don't know what the word is, but it goes like this. It's rather rolling, I guess you would say, through here. to get, so you could see the topography. So that's why you put the contour on there so you
The
could
topo
see.
map.
So it's here.
Yeah.
So, and then all of this is fenced in. So this is the drive that goes back to the farm building. So this is all fenced in here that had the landscaping and the garden and all of that right behind it, right here, was all here.
And right where the arrow is, there's a car there. So yeah, there we go. So right where the car is, yeah, just if you can leave the shot up.
That's where the gate is to go back into the farm area. Cause this is, sorry, I moved it, but this is fenced in as well that goes back. So this is all fenced in, but there's a gate here and that's where the drive goes back to the rest of the farm.
All right, thanks. Any other questions for Amy?
I have one. Amy, do you have an image other than this one that Larry asked you to leave up?
I can put it back.
Might show some of the surrounding properties to see, so we can see what maybe some of the character is if we're out a little bit further? Right there.
Yeah. So the picture of the barn, the black barn is right here. Here, this is the applicant's driveway. The black barn is here. So I took the picture from here. This is all wooded. So I tried to take pictures there, but you wouldn't see anything. And the same thing through here. But all of this is rather rural area that's right here. But their black barn is here.
Thank you.
Black barn is also in front of that property as well, right?
Well, it technically has two fronts
Yeah.
because it fronts on Highway 53 as well.
Either way, it is in front. The barn was larger than the.
Well, it's an agricultural structure, so ag structures can go in front of primaries. And even though that this barn, the structure that the applicant is proposing looks like a barn, it will not be used for agricultural purposes. So that's why he's before you today. Even though it looks like a barn, they're going to use it for a detached garage because they have a barn to put their implements in. So that's why he's here before you, even though it looks like a barn.
Thank you very much. All right, any other questions? All right, thanks, Amy.
Uh-huh.
And if we can have the applicant come forward. Morning. If you can state your name and address and.
Don Erler, 4005 Old Highway 53, LaGrange.
Done, and raise your right hand so we can swear you in. And go ahead.
Got it. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but
The truth. Thank you, Don. And if you can justify the project or tell us what it is you're trying to do.
We have lived in this property for 33 years, getting a little age on our bodies, and it's time to shelter our vehicles. All of our vehicular traffic takes place in front of our home, not behind it. We have a circular drive, pull in the yard on occasion and things like that. What we would do is reverse the traffic pattern. We normally come in that upper drive and turn around and come down in front of the house. With a garage, we would reverse that so we could come in on the lower drive and come up and drive directly into the garage structure itself. We have a barn where we have a tractor and mowing equipment and things of that degree. Shed in the back for that purpose, but have never had a place for better equipment storage, workbench and things of that nature, as well as a place to put vehicles. We're tired at this point of taking the snow and the pollen and everything off the car, so it'd be nice to have a garage. We placed it in that particular location because it makes sense as far as the traffic flow. Also, our property is full of sinkholes. If we were to go directly back where you were talking about on the side of that property right there, there's a huge sinkhole right in that area. We have a burn pile back there, which is appropriate for that area because it really sinks down. We would like to not disturb our back area because it is fenced in. We have animals. We have a dog and that we keep in there and fenced in. So if we were to put the garage behind, that would require us to move the fences, take out several very large trees, and really change the nature of the back of our property. We do have 10 plus acres. We do a number of different farming activities. I guess we could have called this a farm building, but it is a garage. That's the purpose that we want to build it for. And we're not going to put tractors and things like that in it. Just a place to park the cars and a place to have an area where you'd have a workbench and some storage and things of that nature.
Thank you, Don. Questions for Don?
I don't have any, Larry.
I don't have any. Okay. Don, thank you. You heard my questions to Amy and you've answered them. Thank you.
We tried to, the other thing, we've tried to move it to the side enough that, our property is very attractive. The house was built in 1888. We've taken great care of it and intend to continue to do that. So we didn't want to disturb the sight line. So that particular structure is sitting far enough to the side that it really won't be a sightline issue for people coming into the property or coming down that road. And we are on a dead end road. Old Highway 53 has that barn that you saw and 3 houses, and that's all. So not a whole lot of traffic.
No commercial activity out of the building, strictly storage of vehicles.
Absolutely.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Yeah, one, Don. What will be the character of your barn? I saw the silhouette picture of, the garage. Explain to me what will be the silhouette of that. Yeah.
This construction type, pole barn, we've got pole barn with a 10-foot clearance inside. The entire structure will be black, the roof and the sides, metal, and we'll have white garage doors, white walk door, white windows, and a small cupola on the top.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Anything else?
That's it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anybody here wishing to speak in favor of the application? Opposed to the application? Board members, questions for anybody? Okay, I'll close the floor, open it up to discussion.
Just for the record, we did not receive any letters of support or opposition on the
Thank you.
application.
Thank you. All right, open it up for discussion. Pretty cut and dry.
Pretty cut and dry. I think that the testimony that the applicant's given based on the sinkholes and the limitations of the site view based on the historic home, given the rural character, I think that certainly something I could approve.
I agree with Ron, and looking over this application, I understand what they're trying to do is not to interfere with the characterization of the beautiful property that they have right now. The board fence and the sinkholes and the trees behind the house, and I think it's a real good fit. I really do.
Good. Okay. All right, I'm ready to take a motion.
I'd like to make a motion. Motion to approve docket OC 22021 for a location variance for a proposed accessory structure garage located at 4005 Old Highway 53, The Grange, because of the following. Number one, only reasonable location for accessory structure due to the topography on this 10.5 acre parcel. Number two, proposed location is far enough to the side of the primary structure not to interfere with the sight line of the house. Number three, new structure will be similar in design to other farm buildings in the local area. Number four, it will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity. Conditions of approval. The variance shall only apply to the application considered at the June 16th, 2022 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. Number two, there should be no commercial activity from the accessory structure and shall not be used as living space. That's my motion.
Very good. Do I have a second? Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? It's been approved. All right, Mike, if you want to read the next one. Good day.
Docket OC 22-022, an application has been filed requesting a front and side yard setback variances for a proposed structure located at 1718 Riverside Drive, Prospect.
Mr. Riley, again, Amy Alvey with the Oldham County Planning and Development. As Mr. Riley stated, this is an application requesting front and side yard setback variances for a proposed structure at 1718 Riverside Drive. The property is zoned CO1 conservation and is approximately 0.15 acres. This is an aerial view of the property. This shows a structure on it, but that structure has since been removed, not by the applicant, but by the previous owner. The property is zoned CO1 because it is right on the Ohio River there. There's no previous site history. Again, the applicant is requesting front and side yard setbacks for proposed new home. The required side yard setback in CO1 zoning is 15 feet, and the front yard setback is 50 feet. The lot is only 50 feet wide and was created prior to the current zoning regulations. The applicant did provide a survey of the previous home. The previous home was removed from the property, but the applicant did provide a survey of the original structure showing the following setbacks. So the original structure, on the left side yard was 4.4 feet. From the left side, 17.5 feet on the right, and was approximately 21.1 feet from the front property line. So this was the existing home that was there that was removed by the previous owner. The applicant is proposing to construct a new home on the lot, which will be required to meet FEMA standards for constructing a floodplain. The existing concrete patio and retaining wall located at the rear of the property will remain. So this is the concrete patio in the area that's down by the water's edge that will remain. The site plan submitted for the new construction reflects the following proposed setback. So they are proposing to push the home back about an additional 3 feet. So they're showing it 24 feet from the front property line. The right side yard is 5 feet, which does include the stairs. So we had run into that in a previous case where they measured to the structure, but this is to the stairs. So the entire structure there. The left side yard is 6 feet. These are the renderings of the home that were presented by the applicant. This is the storage level, so where it is elevated, the storage level here. This is the first floor, and you'll see that the home will have an elevator and has stairs as well. This is the second floor. So you see it has bedrooms here and a living room area. And then this is finally the third floor. Again, living space or bedrooms. The applicant's justification statement states the following: without the variances, the property is essentially unbuildable. Most of the properties on the street have received similar variances, and then by granting the variance will allow construction of a home that is keeping with the character of the neighborhood. So this is a view looking from Riverside Drive into the lot. This is where the home was located. You can see a home to each side. This is the north view. This is the north adjoining property. So if you see the site map here where the star is, that is this home. This is the south view. This is the south adjoining property. This is the east. So this is across the street at Riverside Drive. This just shows the side yards. You can see where it's got the septic and everything, the clean outs there, and then the property lines and sight lines here. This is the rear concrete patio area that will remain. And then this is just to give you a view standing at that patio area, looking to the right and left. We're always conscious of allowing the house to be pushed back they don't impair the other neighbors' views of the river. So this is the north view of the river. This is a south view of the river. So in summary, the applicant is requesting 3 variances. The right side is required to be 15 feet. They're proposing 5, so they're requesting a 10-foot variance. The left side requirement is 15, requested is 6, so they're requesting a 9-foot variance. In the front yard is 50 feet, and they are requesting a 24-foot setback. Therefore, they're requesting a 26-foot variance. Duplicate slide. Potential conditions of approval. The variance shall only apply to the application considered at the June 16, 2022 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. And number 2, there should be no commercial activity conducted from the accessory. That should not be in there. Sorry. Disregard number 2. So there you go. That is all that I have. Be happy to answer any questions.
Questions for Amy? And if we could have the applicant come forward.
Morning, John.
Morning. If I can get your, are both of you going to speak?
Yes, this is Jeff Rollins. He's the architect that I've been working with on this, and
Okay.
so he's been deeply involved since we very first started trying to come up with the design.
All right, let's get you both sworn in real quick, and then we'll get name and address. Want to raise your right hand, both of you?
Solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Okay. And Jeff, are you going to speak first?
If I can get addresses, names.
I was going to say I'll introduce myself. So I'm the property owner, Rick Crawford, and 1718 Riverside is the property we're talking about. You need my current address right now because obviously I'm not.
Yes, please.
Current address is 4308 Staten Road. That's in Louisville. It's 40220.
When?
SATTON.
My name is Jeff Rollins, and my address is 213 South Shelby Street in Louisville, Kentucky, and it's 40202. Yeah, I have
Better drawings.
better renderings.
Actually, yeah, go ahead if you want to pass them around. And then if you have another copy, we can put it on the overhead. Fantastic. That'll work.
The model, I think that shows that, to me, it makes the most sense as far as being able to look at it and see the variances.
They help.
Looking up, I'd be glad to talk about the properties. So we spent probably a dozen and a half times driving some of these.
Actually, Rick, just make sure you're speaking into the mic there. And if you need help hooking up, just call out and we'll get you help.
So we spent probably about 2 years ago, a lot of time starting being a big river person myself, since I was a kid, driving these roads, and Riverside was our favorite by far. Just that people were super friendly. I tell people all the time, it's like a mini Key West. You know, met some of the folks down there. It seems like every time I run into somebody, they know somebody that lives on Riverside. You know, Amy's a good example. The most recent example, as of about an hour ago, she said she knows John Bennett, which is my neighbor, on the left side facing the river. So when we got there, there was an existing structure. When we first started looking at this piece of property, just had a for sale sign out front. So got a hold of the current owner and started talking price, and he was a little high. So I ended up coming back about 6 months later, and he had already demoed the existing structure. Because I was really thinking at that time building up the structure. It was just a simple block structure, and apparently he was thinking the same thing until he got to digging around the foundation and found out the footers weren't right. So he went ahead and demoed the property. I went ahead and bought it anyway, but by that time I loved it. It's not just the property, but it's the front work that it shows on this diagram is existing, you know, existing patio, existing retaining walls. There's a lot of concrete work down there. And I've since met the people that poured that concrete in the 70s. They're about half a dozen doors down. Jimmy Bennett, brother of my neighbor, John Bennett. A lot of the brickwork that's on there was done by another guy 2 doors down in the other direction when he was an apprentice bricklayer. So there's a lot of history, and I love the history, and so does she. And it's just something that I want to preserve all that piece. So one thing that I'm proud of is if you look at the design, it kind of blends in really well, I think, with all the concrete work down there and tries to stay in character. And even though it's kind of got a contemporary look to it, we fully intend to use a lot of wood and a lot of subtle colors that's going to blend well with the environment and the other structures there. So, and then on the right, the house on the right facing this way, John and Vicki Bennett, already become pretty good friends with them. We were down there watching a movie with them on their deck just Saturday night. So, and he offered to come here and speak on our behalf, and I told him I didn't think it was necessary, but he's got the tightest, for me, from a visual standpoint, even though we're requesting basically the same variance technically on either side, it's a little bit tighter on his side, and him and Vicki both completely good with it. We've promised that the privacy is going to be taken care of. You'll see there's no windows on that side. If we need to add extra sound deadening or whatever we need to do, we'll do the right thing by our neighbors. I'm a big believer in taking care of my neighbors. Other than that, I'm trying to think. Am I missing anything? Oh yeah, the other side. I've not had the good luck to meet the Knables yet. I went to school with some Knables, so I'm kind of hoping it's somebody that I know, or at least related to somebody I know. But that structure is, I think they're still trying to decide whether or not what they're going to do with that. I think they're going to keep it, but I don't know. I don't know if they decided what to do. It got left to 5 different Knable kids, so I can definitely understand it takes a while to get everybody on the same page there. But I've not got a chance to talk to them yet. But likely that's going to come down, in my opinion. It got hit hard by the 18 flood, which is what took out the house. I'm replacing, basically. The 18 flood took a lot of those smaller non-raised houses out, and so it's likely going to get demoed too. They got a nice lot though. It's a 100-foot property, so which is not rare but uncommon on Riverside. A lot of smaller properties, 100-foot properties, are kind of hard to come by. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of competition to get that one if they decide to sell it.
You got something? Go ahead.
So you can see in the renderings there that what we're proposing is basically a structure that's on top of the required 20-foot pedestal. It's a Corps of Engineers that all the new construction has to be certain level before your living floor. So that's what makes this actually so tall. My renderings of the neighbors' houses are actually probably a little short. If you look at some of the photographs in the early presentation, you can tell that the houses to the south of this one are really also tall and newer construction and set up very high, just like this proposed one. The setbacks are currently 15 feet on each side, and it's a 50-foot lot. So, that makes it a very narrow house. If you're trying to build that, it would actually start looking out of character with all the other houses that are much wider than the 20 feet. Same way with the 50-foot setback is essentially in the middle of the house line on all of the neighboring houses. So it really is not characteristic in this street. And so we're trying to create something that's more compatible with what's going on in the neighborhood and in this particular site. We are using shipping containers as our medium. So this house is 2 stories, but it's not a large 2-story. It's not like 10 or 12-foot floors. They are 9-foot floors. So it is not terribly tall that way. We're trying to put in lots of glazing to kind of make it a more contemporary feel, and not feel as much like a shipping container, but more like a contemporary home. And that's what we've proposed.
Like I said before, to add to that, a lot of colors that make it blend well, a lot of wood, I'll have to move out if I don't put lots of wood on this thing. But one thing I guess I didn't point out, it shows it on the drawing, but we took care to position this thing on the property so that front to back or river to road, it's lined up with our neighbors. So in particular, John and Vicky, since we're still living there, the back, even though we're requesting a variance, we've got the same driveway they would have. We've got the decks lined up, so we're not blocking anybody's view. If anything, we're set back and blocking our view just a tad. If you look at where we've got our decks. So we're definitely paying attention to the privacy and making sure we don't obstruct anybody's view. So even though it's variances, it was kind of news to me, and this is way out of my wheelhouse, all of this stuff. When I bought the property, I wasn't really worried. I didn't dream that it would require 15-foot variances. Otherwise, I probably would have not bought the property, to be honest, because it is tight. But looking at the other houses, these houses are built right next to each other, and so I didn't think I was doing anything unusual. That's for sure. But it is very restrictive. If you tried to do 15, I'm not sure. I guess you'd build a tree house. You really couldn't build a lot on a 50-foot lot. There's a lot of these 50-foot lots down there for sure.
All right. Any questions for either one of them?
Of your primary structure, what is the height from grade?
That gray box on top is still up for discussion. So I'm not sure we've answered that. It'd be 20 plus 9, so it's 38.
It's 38, and then we may have a mechanical room on top. We're still trying to figure out where we're going to put the HVAC system. We don't know if we can put it below or above or make space within it.
So to answer your question, I'm leaning towards, we haven't talked to any HVAC guys now, which they're going to make the determination what makes sense. But I would like to put all that equipment room in the middle on the first living floor above the floodplain. And if we were able to do that, put it in the middle, then you're looking at 38 feet tall, basically. Accurate.
38.
Which is a lot shorter than most of the buildings down there.
Essex question. There are height restrictions on zonings. And I don't have from memory on a CO1 parcel, what is that limitation?
I'll answer that, Mike. In the floodplain, especially on Riverside Drive, because of the additional unusable living space that has to be out of the floodplain or space, the foundations are so high. We have not been requiring anybody to get variances for the height requirements. As a matter of fact, historically, we haven't had any variances for height on any residence in Oldham County in a long time, simply because all the modern houses have steep pitch roofs. And even down on Riverside Drive, they're all at least 14 feet of foundation before you get to the house. So,
Understand. Thank you.
Okay. Further questions? Rick, just so you're aware, we do see quite a few of these come before us for variances.
So I was hoping after driving up down that street, I didn't see how that couldn't be possible, but thank you.
We get them a lot. Any other questions?
I do. Sir, I believe your name is Jeff. Is that correct? Thank you. You had an image where you were rotating the camera around, and I was seeing structures in the distance. Were those structures real structures, or were those just a conceptual view?
For our discussions about the design and the progression of the design.
Yeah, not real.
Those are,
So I wasn't seeing buildings to potential like out in the distance then, correct? Okay, I was just curious if those were a true representation of what is on that street.
The only thing back in that direction would be creek and woods.
Just as you were spinning the camera on, I just wanted to make sure that I grasped. Okay, so I see these. So those structures are your.
up there. They're all variations of our design as we went through the process.
Okay, again, I was just curious because I saw those in the distance. I was just trying to make sure I understood what was in the perimeter around the property. Thank you.
All right, any other questions? All right, very good. Thanks, guys. And is there anybody here wishing to speak in favor of the application? Opposed to the application? Board members, questions for anybody? All right, I'll close the floor, open it up for discussion.
Mr. Chairman, we've done had a lot of applications very similar to this on Riverside Drive, bordering the Ohio River. And I believe that this application right here, as well explained as it was, meets all the requirements of the regulations with the variances.
By the way, I think the shipping container idea is pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah, they've-
Just closed testimony already, so.
All right. All right. Anything else, board members? Any other questions?
I think given the information that was shared with us by the applicant and staff, given what's going on with raising these homes along that area, I see no problem with approving it as submitted.
And on my question on the height, it makes a lot of sense because you're brought in with the FEMA rules, is that you have to raise everything up. And we've been involved with the applications very similar to this, where they had to meet the new rules and regulations of FEMA. So that makes all the sense in the world. Common sense.
The thing I have on it is, you drafted the motion as a single motion. I'm fine with that. It's consolidated 3 separate variances, but if you want to consolidate them, that's fine with me.
Yeah, I think that'd be okay as well.
Okay, very good. I'm ready to take a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve docket OC 22-022 for a front and side yard setback variances for a proposed structure located at 1718 Riverside Drive, Prospect, Kentucky. Front yard variance is 26 feet, the right side yard variance 10 feet, the left side yard variance 9 feet. Support for these setback variances are as follows. Number one, the narrow riverfront parcels were developed many decades ago to accommodate small vacations, cottages, and therefore are out of compliance with current building regulations. Number two, granting of the variances will allow construction of a home that is in keeping with the character of the surrounding neighborhood. Number three, other property owners have requested and received similar variances. Number four, the strict application of the provisions of the current regulations would deprive the applicant of the reasonable use of his land, period. Conditions of approval. The variances shall apply only to the application considered at the June 16th, 2022 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. That is my motion.
Thank you, Mike. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? It's been approved. All right, Mike, if you want to read the next one, please.
At OC 22-023, an application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit with a location variance, maximum square footage variance, and a minimum lot size variance for an existing structure located at 6104 Cherry Lane, Crestwood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Riley. As previously stated, this is an application, again, for a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit, location variance, maximum square footage variance, and minimum lot size variance at 6104 Cherry Lane in Crestwood. The property is zoned R2 and is approximately 1.7 acres. This is an aerial view of the property. You'll see here is the existing accessory structure. Here is the home. This just gives you another view. Property is zoned R2 residential as well as the surrounding tracts. Site history: on August 3rd, 1995, the Oldham County Board of Adjustments approved a conditional use permit for a mail order business, automotive parts. That was docket 1168. On January 18th, 2001, the Oldham County Board of Adjustments revoked the conditional use permit for a mail order business, docket 3276, because the conditions of approval were not being met by the applicant. Furthermore, the applicant is requesting, again, a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit with location variance, maximum square footage variance, minimum lot size variance for the existing structure that's located on 1.7 acres. A building permit for the single-family home was issued to the applicant in October of 1980, and then reissued based off a revised plan in April of 1981. The applicant then applied for a detached garage permit in 1989, and then renewed the permit in June of 2003. According to the applicant's justification statement, the original purpose of the garage was for living space for his parents on the second floor, but the project was never finished and his parents have since passed. The structure already has plumbing and electric, according to the justification statement. Section 250.040E8 requires an accessory dwelling unit to be located behind the primary structure. The existing garage is located in front of the primary structure, therefore requiring a location variance. At the time the garage was permitted, 1989, there were no regulations that required a garage or accessory structure to be located behind the primary structure, only that it be at minimum 60 feet from the front property line. So this is just a zoomed in of the aerial. So again, this is the primary home. This is the garage. Section 250.040E5 states that detached accessory dwelling units shall not exceed 25% of the primary structure square footage. The existing home is 2,604 square feet, which would allow 651 square feet of accessory dwelling unit area. The applicant is proposing 883 square feet. That is the second floor square footage of the existing garage, which requires a maximum square footage variance of 232 square feet. This is the floor plan that was submitted by the applicant. That shows the living area of 883 square feet. Section 250.040B3 states detached accessory dwelling units will count as a whole unit towards density calculations. Properties served by septic, minimum lot size is 1 acre, would have to be at minimum of 2 acres. The applicant's property is approximately 1.7 acres, therefore requiring a minimum lot size variance as well. Per the applicant's justification statement, the plan is to downsize and move into the ADU space and possibly rent out the main house in the future. So this is at the edge of Cherry Lane at the driveway looking into the property. This is the accessory structure, 2-story accessory structure. So the first floor is garage and the second floor is finished space. This is the east view. This is the north view. So this is across the street. This is the north adjoining property. And this is the west view. So this is further up into the driveway. Again, you'll see the garage doors here, first floor, second floor. And it's built back into a bank. So I'll try to get another picture here. It's kind of recessed back into the hillside there. This is the right side yard. So as you come up the driveway, this is the garage doors here. Then you come up steps to get to the home, which is right here. This is all trees to your right side. So when you come up those steps, then you turn and walk up and you'll see that the second floor is at the same elevation as the house. And there's a patio that connects the two. In summary, again, the applicant's requesting a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit with location, maximum square footage, and minimum lot size variances for an existing structure located at 6104 Cherry Lane in Crestwood. All of the motions are listed individually, and the conditions of approval are all listed individually in your staff report. So that is all that I have. And for the record, we did not receive any letters of support or opposition.
Okay, thank you, Amy.
Mhm.
Questions for Amy?
I've got a couple. Amy, you said that you made some reference to the second, the ADU is finished or is this proposed to be finished?
It has electric and plumbing to it. It's not been finished into living space. They got permits for that in 89 and 2003. Those have since expired. And what facilitated this is the applicant came in to renew his permit. Well, with having ADU regulations in place now, that's why they're here.
Thank you.
Amy, what is the structure in the rear of the property there?
I'm not sure. You'll have to ask the applicant that, the structure here.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It appears to be a barn, but you could ask for clarification from the applicant.
And then as far as the, what it was, hang on now.
Hmm?
They had the mail order business back in the early 80s.
Correct.
And that was revoked. Is that correct? Because they did not meet the conditions of approval?
Correct.
Do we know what conditions were not met?
I've listed those in your staff report,
Thought I saw those, yeah.
and that's from the minutes of the revocation hearing. The applicant can clarify any questions you have on that.
Okay. All right, other questions for Amy?
I've got one, but it may be more prudent for the applicant. Is the whole history the same property owner from the building permit from 1980 all the way through to present?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, all right, thank you, Amy.
Hmm?
And if we can have the applicant come forward, please. Morning.
Everyone.
And if you could state your name and address,
In Wyland, 6104 Cherry Lane in Crestwood.
done. And if you can raise your right hand, be sworn in.
Sorry. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Very good thing. Thanks, John. If you could justify the project, tell us what it is you're trying to do.
The whole thing started in 1980. We have put an application in for a English tutor home. And over the winter, Alice found in Mother Earth News a passive solar home, which is what we applied for in April of 81, which was a passive solar home. I no longer have any of the original plans, but the article from the passive solar home, you want to see it?
Uh,
That's easy. Anyhow, it's a passive solar home is what we put the second application in for. The whole south side of the house is a greenhouse, which we supplement our heat during the winter. And around the house has what's called riprap, big rocks. And during the summer, there are two panels that come out downstairs where the bedrooms are. Cool air is drawn through by a fan system and exited through the greenhouse. As you can see from the original plan there, it did already have a garage and a second floor attached to it. That was the application from April of 1981, and that was approved. When we started construction, we got down 3 feet and found a rock ledge. So the choice was chop it out or blow it out. Neither one was possible. It was too expensive. So we built the house on top of the rock ledge and moved the garage forward. And that's where it is now, in the picture that Amy showed you earlier. And the question somebody asked about the building on the back, it's a pole barn. It was built at about the same time as the house. We used it for storage during construction, and now it's a pole barn. What else can I tell you? We've been working on this project now for 42 years. Really would like to finish it. It's 95% done. It needs drywall and flooring. That's it.
Thank you, John. Questions for John?
I've got a couple, if I may. The image that Amy showed us appears if you do not have a driveway on your property.
There is a driveway. In your packet, you should have hand-drawn.
Do you own the property in this image to the right where the cursor is at this time?
No,
So my question for you is, you're proposing that you may want to rent your property out. So where are we going to be parking automobiles of tenants and renters, and how do they access your property? It doesn't appear as if you own.
I have here a perpetual right-of-way and use of that.
That's where I was going with that. Thank you. All right. So you have,
Just recently sold that piece of property to our neighbor, and as part of the deed, we have in perpetuity use of that.
does it run with the land or with your lifespan?
Runs with the land.
Thank you.
So that's still our way in and up in front of the garage.
I guess where I was going with that, and I think you kind of summed that up, is you have access to utilize that drive indefinitely. But you suggested that you may choose to rent the property out, and then I was just curious as to how and where automobiles are going to be parked. But you have the 3-car,
They always have come in, yes,
and you have the 3-stall garage as far as automobiles can go in there.
that
as
is
well.
correct.
It's not going to be an issue with that sliver of the neighboring property owner of
Not at all.
rental traffic per se. Thank you.
No.
The building, I didn't hear, the building in the rear of the property, what is that?
Hold on, sir. Built probably in 1980, 81, same time we started the rest of the project.
You originally planned your home and garage, and I missed this part. I am paying attention, but I have a hearing impairment, so you have to bear with me. Your garage was planned to be a lot closer to the home. Is that what I understood?
Plan showed it attached to.
It's two.
When we hit the bedrock, the house was built 15 feet in the air and we had to backfill the whole thing. So the garage was moved forward when the wall of the garage was actually part of the berm to hold the soil against the house.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for John? All right, thank you, John.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, is there anybody here wishing to speak in favor of the application? Opposed to the application? All right, board members, questions for anybody? Okay, I'll close the floor, open it up for discussion.
The applicant came up, he said pretty important, that's why I had to ask him again, because I was reviewing this application and I'm thinking, you know, something, I don't have all the answers. Well, he answered it when he said that originally it was planned to be attached, and because of these problems with the earth, they had to move it, and that's where they moved it. So that kind of answered that question. And I look through this, and I see that, you know, at the top, and it didn't work out, and so forth. There are a lot of variances, but the variances I think are needed, they're required. I also think this is a piece of property that we need to do something with in the structure, and it'd be better for the applicant. And he does have a plan to do this on the second story of the garage to fulfill the original dream that he had. So I have no difficulty with it. I know there's a lot of variances. I understand that. But I think they are needed and I think they're justified based on what we've heard from the testimony.
Okay, just take note that there are three, we have three different motions here. So we're going to go through
Four.
Yeah, okay. Okay,
So in respect to that, I think you should consider the variances, the maximum square footage and the lot size variant first before you can approve a conditional use.
any other discussion?
I agree with what Mike said. When I was previewing the application, it appeared to be quite convoluted, but
Yeah.
in light of the testimony that we received, we can gain a greater understanding. That's why I asked if this is the original property owner. He has wonderful insight of the whole history because it's his history. In light of that, it helped me understand what happened and what he's attempting to achieve. And just from reading it versus hearing it, it helps me wrap my mind around it. In light of that, life happens, applications expired for permits and things of that nature. I would be inclined to approve this as submitted.
Okay, I'm ready to take, first motion.
My first motion is on lot size variance. Matter of fact, the last motion I have will be on the conditional use permit. Motion to approve lot side variance of 0.3 acres for a proposed existing detached accessory dwelling unit located at 6104 Cherry Lane, Crestview, because it will not adversely affect the public health, safety, and welfare, nor will not alter the essential character of the general vicinity, and will not cause a hazard or nuisance to the public because proposed structure is less than 1,000 square feet and will house 2 adult residents. Current property is 1.7 acres and meets 85% of the regulation. This variance has to do with the septic. Okay. Conditions of approval. Number 1, the variance shall only apply to the application considered the June 16th, 2022 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. That is my motion.
Thank you, Mike. Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Okay. We want to go to the next one?
Second motion, motion to approve a location variance to allow a proposed existing accessory dwelling unit garage to be located in front of the primary structure located at 6104 Cherry Lane, Crestview, because of the following. Number 1, the current structure was permitted in 1989, and at that time, there were no regulations that required the garage accessory structure to be located behind the primary structure. Number 2, back in 1989, the original purpose of the garage was for living space for the applicant's parents on the second floor, but the project never finished for the second floor of the garage. Number 3, it will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare, nor alter the general character of the vicinity as this structure has been in existence for a number of years. Conditions of approval. This variance shall only apply to the application considered at the June 16th, 2022 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. A motion.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, that one's been approved.
Motion to approve a maximum square footage variance for a detached accessory dwelling unit garage of 232 square feet at 6104 Cherry Lane, Crestwood, because this existing structure has been in existence for many years, and at the time of permitting, 1989, current regulations were not in place. In addition, it will not affect the public safety, welfare, nor will it alter the essential character of the general area. Conditions of approval. This variance shall only apply to the application considered at the June 16th, 2022 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing.
All right, fantastic. Do I have a second? Second. Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? All right, and last one.
To approve a conditional use permit for a detached accessory dwelling unit located at 6104 Cherry Lane, Crestwood, because according to the applicant's justification statement, the original purpose of the existing garage structure was a living space for his parents on the second floor, but the project was never finished and his parents are now deceased. The current structure already has plumbing and electrical according to the justification statement of the applicant. Per the applicant's justification statement, he would like to downsize and move into the ADU space and possibly run out the main house in the future. It will not adversely affect the public health, safety, or welfare. Conditions of approval. Number one, the conditional use permit shall only apply to the plan considered at the June 16, 2022 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. Number two, the applicant shall apply for and be issued current building and electrical permits prior to beginning any further construction on the ADU. Number three, there should be no commercial activity out of the ADU.
All right. We have a vote. Do I have a second? Second. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All four have been approved. Okay. Mr. Riley, if you'd like to read the fourth and last.
Number 24. Docket OC 22-024, an application has been filed requesting a conditional use permit for a non-owner occupied short-term rental property located at 4002 Hidden Falls Drive, 1100-204 Spring Hollow Court, Prospect.
Mr. Riley. Again, this is your fourth docket here, docket OC 22-024. And this is an application for conditional use permit for a non-owner occupied short-term rental. The property is zoned AG1 and is approximately 5 acres. To access this property, you come in off Highway 329, you come up through Hidden Falls Drive, and then turn onto Spring Hollow. And then there is a long driveway that goes back to the original farmhouse. So this is a zoomed in version of that. This is Hidden Falls on each side, surrounded by Hidden Falls open space. This is the subject tract. Here is the home. It just shows the zoning of CO1 and AG1. This is just an area view again that shows the existing driveway to the home. There's no previous site history on this property. Again, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for a non-owner occupied short-term rental. Section 250050 item A under definition states a non-owner occupied short-term rental is the owner of the property that does not permanently reside in the STRP or in the principal residential unit which the STRP is associated with on the same lot. Section 250050 item B, general provisions, says in zoning districts in which residential uses are a permitted use, including legal nonconforming residential uses, a short-term rental of the dwelling unit that is not the primary residence of the property owner is required to obtain a conditional use permit by the appropriate Board of Adjustments. If granted the CUP, the owner must also apply with the special standards as outlined in the STRP regulations, general provisions, item 4 through 17. The submitted floor plan shows 3 bedrooms, therefore a maximum number of occupants is 10. If the conditional use permit is approved, the applicant would have to comply with all the other standards in place for the short-term rental properties. This is the floor plan that was submitted. You'll see on the main floor there are 2 bedrooms, and in the basement there is the 3rd bedroom. The applicant's aunt had owned and lived in the property since the 1980s until her recent death and wanted to keep the property in the family. The property was conveyed to the applicant via the estate of Kathy Reagan in March of 2022. The applicant wishes to keep the house and property for out-of-town family to use when visiting their children, but hope to cover maintenance and upkeep, would like to use the house as a short-term rental. Per the applicant's justification statement, this conditional use permit does not conflict with any of the goals and objectives of the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan, which encourages orderly growth and protection of land from premature unsustainable development. So this is the entrance from the intersection of Hidden Falls and Spring Hollow. So this is the drive that goes back into here to get to the home. This is the east view. This is a north view. So this is across the street from the drive to the home. The west view. So this is the intersection of Spring Hollow and Hidden Falls. This is a picture of the actual short-term rental property that is located back here. This is the properties to the west. So as you come down the driveway and access into the property, these are the homes. This is the open space here. So this is the open space, and then these are the homes along this side. This is the view when you go to exit the driveway back out towards Hidden Falls. So in summary, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit for a non-owner occupied short-term rental property at 4002 Hidden Falls Drive, Prospect. 2 items of conditions of approval would be the conditional use permit shall only apply to the application considered at the June 16th, 2022 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. And number 2, the applicant shall apply for and be issued a short-term rental property permit before renting the property. And for the record, staff did not receive any letters or emails in support of or opposition of the application.
Thank you, Amy. Any questions for Amy? Okay, thank you. And if we can have the applicants come forward. And state your name and address, please.
Robert Reagan, 301 Ohio Street, apartment 403, Buffalo, New York, 14204.
All right, Robert, and if you can raise your right hand and be sworn in.
Sorry. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Okay. All right, Robert, if you could fill in some gaps that Amy may have missed and justify the project.
I think she did a great job. This is my aunt. This is her house. She died in last fall, kind of unexpectedly and tragically, and we just like to keep the house in the family and use it for relatives that come. Sorry, and she died unexpectedly last fall. We all got together, and she didn't want to see it developed, and we wanted to be able to use it for other family that comes in and visits, and usually stays with my mom or my grandmother who are aging. So the goal would be to be able to rent it out on a short-term basis to cover expenses and upkeep, while allowing family members that come in to stay when they do for a couple weeks at a time. So that's the plan.
Sorry, you were fading out there.
That's the plan. It's not very elaborate.
All right, very good. Questions for Robert?
I have a few, if I may. Who is the property owner? Individually?
Yes.
Okay. Tell me where you live again, please.
I live in Buffalo, New York.
I didn't catch your address. Did you say
It's
that?
30, it's on the application, but it's 30, okay.
So, and you have family in the area?
I do, yeah. From here, so yeah.
Then I guess you'd have like a maintenance agreement in place or something like that to maintain the property.
The short-term rental property regulations require you to have a person living within 25 miles, which I do, who would be doing the upkeep and maintenance and stuff like that, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Other questions?
I'm not clear on something. Do you have somebody that, or will you be close? Where do you live in relationship to this property?
I live in New York. My mom lives in Prospect off Highway 42, and per the short-term rental regulations, you have to have somebody within 25 miles of. I do have somebody. His name is Sean Murphy. It's in the application, but he's going to be taking care of the house, and I'm paying him right now to do that. So yeah.
Thank you.
Amy, are you looking to put something up? Okay, I'll wait. Well, go ahead. So is it your intent is to rent this out at any time. You're looking for supplemental income just for the upkeep. You've got somebody within 25 miles for maintenance. Are you able to do any type of monitoring or just watching the house? I know a lot of times with short-term rental properties, they have cameras or noise monitoring. Do you have anything like that in place?
I'd be putting that in. I mean, it's in my interest, obviously, not to see any damage or anything to the property. So I'd want to have some cameras and other things to keep track of that. And then, whatever ways I can find out to keep that, any noise or damage to the property to a minimum. That's would be the goal. Obviously, I'm not trying to be a slumlord here. So yeah.
Okay.
In relation to this property, how close is the closest neighbor?
I'm not sure, but it's set back pretty far from the nearest neighbor. I'm not sure the exact distance, but that's a discernible fact. I can figure that out. It's a good distance.
Yeah.
Is Sean Murphy a family member or a friend?
He's my neighbor, my mom's neighbor. So I've known him for several years. He and I were good friends, and he's a kind of a contractor and handyman, so he's well suited for the job.
Thank you.
All right. Any other questions?
I have one for Amy.
Okay.
Could you enlighten me a little bit as to property owner's relationship with someone that he's hiring to monitor the property in light of the fact that he lives in New York? Where that was written? Or because you said it has to comply with the short-term rental stipulations.
It's listed right here on the application, the responsible party. Sorry, I'm trying to move the mouse to make it go, but no. So it's listed right here where it says Sean Murphy, 9319 Highway 42, Goshen. So that is the responsible party. The regulation requires the responsible party to be within 25 miles of the short-term rental, and it does comply with that.
Not required to have any. They're not required to be family. Apparently, it's not required
No.
to have a contract in place to be submitted to the court or anything like that.
Some short-term rentals hire companies to do that. As long as that company is located, they provide us the location of it, and then the agreement that says that they are responsible 24/7 of any maintenance calls or complaints.
I'm just trying to understand. I'm not challenging you. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it so I can grasp it thoroughly. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Any other questions for the applicant?
Just out of curiosity, what's the approximate age of the home? Do you have any recollection?
Well, it was moved in 1980. The less shy of Lee, I think it was, who owned the house. It was moved to the current location back in like 81. So I don't know. The house is 80. It's pretty old.
Okay, I was just curious. Like what you're talking about, like with the short-term rental. If there's some level of architectural character or points of a historic interest that make the house desirable to tour, visit, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm not sure the approximate age, but it's at least 40 years old. So yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Robert.
Thanks.
Take a seat. Is there anybody here wishing to speak in favor of the application? Opposed? If you can come forward. And you're not speaking in favor or opposed. You just have questions. Is that correct? Okay. You can state your name and address.
Miss Karen Osborne. I live at 11315 Spring Hollow Court.
And I'm sorry, was it Karen?
Caron.
Yeah, Karen, go ahead. Let's get you sworn in. I'm sorry.
You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
And would you please lean in so I can hear? With the air conditioner on, it's very difficult.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I was
Is
just
that
asking.
better?
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Very much.
I'm here on behalf of Hidden Falls Residents Association. We have the whole surrounding property for this. We are very positive about the fact that it's proposed to stay in Miss Reagan's family and not be developed, because we've been inundated with development around us. We do that long drive that Amy showed you. We maintain all that property. We have the walking trails 2 miles that go all around the front and back of this property. We have the cemetery right in front of Ms. Reagan's property that we also maintain. So my question is on short-term rental, does that mean 1 week, a month, 3 months? You know, what's the target time frame and demographic? And the second is, would that involve?
Oh, sorry.
So a short-term rental is anything less than 30 days.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. That I didn't know. And then the other obvious with the way the property is and with the trails going all up on the surrounding property, and there's no fencing up that backside, would animals be allowed? Now, I'm not talking dogs and cats. I'm talking possibly, I don't know, goats, chickens, you know, and I don't mean any of this as insulting.
Yeah.
I just, for clarification for the neighbors to know that what their exposure is. And to the house itself, I don't know how many 100 yards off from the back of the property, but the walking trails literally go right next to it. And as I've stated previously, and I'll shut up, that we maintain all down the side and all up the front.
Is this the walking trails here? Bring my mouse to work. This right here?
That's part of it. And
Yeah.
then they also
Come around through here.
go all the way back.
Gotcha. Because you can kind of see them right here
I
and
know
through here. It's hard
a
to see
little
through the
difficult,
trees.
But no, they're on both sides and curve up, and they,
So what, I'm not following the question.
part of it was the short term and just assurance for the neighborhood that there won't be animals or, you know, I mean, Miss Reagan was
It's a pretty easy.
a big horse person, you know.
I'm surprised that there's subdivision regulations and restrictions. Always short. I can't hear them either. But look, the subdivision is protected by its own restrictive covenants, correct?
Sure.
And those restrictive covenants are enforceable by any resident in the subdivision. We don't have any control necessarily over your restrictive covenants. You do. And if you have a restrictive covenant that prevents animals or chickens or goats or cows or whatever, that's fine. You can enforce that and against them should they do that. We don't necessarily enforce those covenants. We can't.
Yes, Mr. Combs, I agree with you, but this property is not part of the covenants.
It's not part of the subdivision.
Well, speak against it if that's your request, but we can enforce your restrictions, and this has probably been there for a long time and probably has horses on it. I know the Reagan families in the past, but spring runs there and all kinds of events are taking place over there probably.
And perhaps it's better that I address this directly with Mr. Reagan.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
You say that you all maintain these areas. And in maintaining, do you mean that you just take care of them, or do you all own them, or you have been?
Them and maintain them. Yeah, it's just an easement that comes up. The one thing I don't believe is Albie's picture showed there is also a pond right at the entryway onto the Reagan property.
Okay.
Maintain.
We should ask the applicant if in his short-term rental agreement, what, if any, animal restrictions may exist. Perhaps we should call the applicant back up.
Thank you.
We can do that. All right. Thank you for your comments, ma'am.
Thanks for your time.
Wait a minute. If this piece of property is not part of that subdivision, you can't hear me?
Yeah, now.
You can't? Okay. If that property is not part of the subdivision, as I understand, right? Right.
is a question that she's asking the applicants. I think give them the chance to answer to make clarify whether or not we need to be discussing it.
Okay. Got it. Thank you.
Good point. So, okay, thank you. Do we want to call the applicant back forward? Have I closed the floor already? No. I have not. Come back, please.
I have no intention of keeping any livestock on the property for what it's worth. I do, I understand the homeowner association's concerns, and I would be similarly concerned if I was in their place. There's not going to be any animals on the property that I maintain. We're not subject to the same homeowners association regulations, obviously. But I can assure you it's not relevant for this permit application, but that's, to the extent that there's concerns, I can represent there's not going to be any chickens or horses or anything on the property.
Okay. Other than maybe animals like a dog.
Like a dog or a cat or something of that nature, but yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you, Robert.
I think that it might help the neighbors, to their point, to get that question answered. In light of the fact that you're not restricted by they at least want to know. And I think that, we should have the dialogue so that they understand.
We should, and it's a neighborly thing to do. And I'm very happy to have a separate conversation off the record. Thank you, guys.
All right. Board members, questions for anybody? All right, I'm gonna close the floor, open it up for discussion.
I think, given the applicant's testimony, the information that we've received and the other comments from the folks here today, I will be inclined to approve this as submitted.
Likewise.
Yeah, I agree with Ron. This home is in the middle of 215,000 square feet. And with that kind of property, you're going to have animals come trotting through. I have deer that comes through and everything else that comes through, foxes and everything comes through. But I think this is the way it goes. I don't worry about that. I approve of this application. I think it meets all the marks. And it's very, very well defined, and I'm sure that the applicant will do the right thing with the people that are in the subdivision next door. I'm assured of that.
Okay. If there's no further discussion, I'm ready for a motion.
I'd like to make a motion to approve docket OC 22-024 for a conditional use permit for a non-owner occupied short-term rental property located at 4002 Hidden Falls Drive, Prospect, Kentucky. Approval is based upon the following. Number one, the applicant's aunt had owned and resided on the property since the 1980s until her recent death and wanted to keep the property in the family. Number two, the applicant wishes to keep the house and property for out-of-town family to use when visiting their children and would like to use the house as short-term rental to help cover property expenses. Number three, per applicant's justification statement, this conditional use permit does not conflict with any of the goals or objectives of the Oldham County Comprehensive Plan. Conditions of approval. The conditional use permit shall apply only to the application considered at June 16th, 2022 Oldham County Board of Adjustments public hearing. Number two, the applicant shall apply for and be issued a short-term rental property permit before renting the property. That is my motion.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? It's been approved. All right, meeting minutes. Any changes to the minutes? Well, this is going to be an interesting. No changes to the minutes. I need a motion for approval.
Move to approve the minutes dated May 19th, 2022.
And I'll second that. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Minutes approved. Any other business?
We already have received one application for next month's meeting, so we will have a meeting on July the 21st. So we have received one application. So we will have a meeting next month. And as usual, you will receive an email notification once packets are ready and the information's been uploaded to the website.
Okay, thank you, Amy. Anything else? Okay, I can take a motion for adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
I get a second. Discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, meeting adjourned.